All right. So today's guest is Giulio. He spent more than 20 years in e-commerce, launching e-commerce platforms for brands like Balenciaga and Armani, working at GEOX, Nike, and also running teams of 100 people. And then he walked away from all of this to bootstrap his own startup, which is SearchBridge. And yeah, SearchBridge monitors and recommends actions based on how brands are represented and recommended across large language models. And yeah, today's topic of our conversation is the cost of building a startup. So yeah, welcome, Giulio. I'm really glad to have you today.
Hi, Fabiano. My pleasure being here. Thank you for inviting me, and really happy to discuss those topics together.
Nice. So then I will kick off with the first question, which is, so you left a corporate job. You left like the title, the team, the security to build SearchBridge, your startup. When you're really honest about or with yourself, what has building actually cost or taking away from you that you didn't expect, like after leaving the secure corporate job behind?
Yeah, it's really a shift that I probably wouldn't expect and wouldn't understand before trying myself. So life in corporate and in the startups is completely different. When it comes to the cost, of course, there's the cost of never switching off your brain. So you are always thinking to the next thing to do, how to do things better. Probably when I used to serve as a manager, as you said at the very beginning, I was managing pretty large teams. So delegating things was part of my job. You start with a lot of pressure, but at a certain point, you rely on very strong teams. If you did a good job, in empowering people, you can rely on, large teams of brilliant people, and you can delegate as much as you can. The main difference when you launch a startup is that most of the important thing you cannot delegate. So that was probably one of the first lessons that I learned. So as a manager, the more I was able to delegate, the more I was a good manager. As a founder, some things you simply cannot delegate because you have to put your face on, starting from the clients, from the investors. So the most important and relevant things, it's on your side. And yeah, probably the biggest cost is having always your brain there.
Was there a specific task that you weren't doing in your corporate job, and then like first week or first few weeks as a founder, you notice, okay, shit, I have to do it by myself now? Like, was there one specific task that you can think of?
Oh, many, Fabiano, considering that the company today is made of 6 people, but, until a few months ago, it was only a few of us. It really spans from, signing documents, creating presentation, making, submitting the invoices, for example, those operational activities. So I can really name hundreds of them.
Okay, I can imagine all the admin that's coming up.
Yeah,
from
exactly. Just to mention one of them.
What has it cost you when we talk about like the unusual stuff, or probably the stuff that you wouldn't post on LinkedIn? For example, when it comes to time, your money, relationships, health, peace of mind. What comes to mind if you think about building a startup? What is the cost related to those topics to yourself?
Yeah, the most obvious answer is about, the cost, about, the salary and money. So, until I was serving as a manager, I had a very, good position. And in that case, all the salary was granted, very good, bonuses at the end of the year, a lot of benefits like, cars, insurance, whatever. So that's the most obvious thing. Probably, yeah, especially at the beginning when I was almost alone, plus my co-founder, I was really spending, all days in a row trying to develop our first POC of SearchBridge myself. And those days was really draining my, all attention. And sometimes the cost is also, about my family. So I have 2 kids, amazing kids. They are 11 and 9, but also my wife. But yeah, I have to say that today on that part, I really found nowadays a good balance, because sometimes you struggle, in just put some boundaries. Because when you are the company you created, you try to put so much effort that sometimes you just don't consider those boundaries. Nowadays, after 1 year, I have to say that I probably found it. So it was a cost at the beginning, but today it's way better.
What were those boundaries, if you can think of, like at the beginning, but also now? What have you learned regarding those boundaries, especially when it comes to your family?
Yeah. Trying not to work too much. So of course it's intense. I mean, it's not a part-time job. You have to put a lot of effort. But I've been able to be more effective in some things, and try not to work too much overtime. So personally, I'm very good in working early in the morning. So eventually I wake up a bit earlier, doing all my tasks before the kids going to school, then spending some time with them. So there are some things that I try, not to negotiate. Unless I have a very important meeting, of course, that's usual. But eventually trying, not to go until very late in the evening, for example, and also trying to save the weekend as much as I can. Actually, Saturday morning is my time. So it's the time where, with no pressure, no email coming, I just, organize a bit the chaos that I left during the week. But again, early in the morning, so no more than a couple of hours. Of course, you feel that you can and you would work more, but at a certain point, it's just not beneficial for your life balance. So sometimes you just stop and say, okay, this is not the priority.
Makes sense. I can imagine it's quite hard to find the balance. So cool to hear that you found it, also with kids.
Yeah, but I have to say that kids and my wife are, the very best supporter of me and my company. And sometimes listening my kids speaking of my company is really amazing, because they are, such a supporter, saying, "Oh, Dad, you are creating such a beautiful things. Do you realize how important is what you are doing? You have to believe in it." And kids sometimes really are able to teach us a lot of things. And also my wife is the very number one supporter. So finding that balance is really the best thing to do, because they are part of the whole story.
Nice, glad to hear. You saw another topic you saw regarding like the brands you've been working with, like, or in the corporate jobs you've been working. You saw probably a lot when it comes to org charts, systems, all that. What did the world give you that you're grateful for? Like the corporate world that is now very, yeah, useful for you as a founder. And what is the things that you say, okay, you had to unlearn them from your previous jobs now as a founder? You already mentioned, okay, tasks. There were new tasks coming up. But besides that, what gave you the corporate world that you can now take as a founder, and what is the things that you had to unlearn?
Yeah, I believe the corporate world allow you to, practice in, combining different disciplines. So when you reach, some, C-level position, you are obliged to understand a bit of finance, a bit of business, a bit of marketing. So as an executive, you are not serving as, a specialist. So achieving, a certain level, you must be proficient in all of those components of the business. And as a founder, of course, combining marketing, financials, business strategy is crucial, because everything is on your hand. So that's probably the most important part, especially I would say combining finance and business acumen. It's probably the most important part that I learned in the very last part of my career in the corporates. Nowadays, I realize, and I tend to focus more on what I have to unlearn from the corporate. So I already mentioned the how to delegate task, and today it's completely different. I'm not saying that, of course, I'm not delegating today. It's a part of my job as well. But yeah, the approach to delegate, it's completely different. Yeah, and also the speed of execution. I would say that as a manager, you tend to make decision in order to avoid any risk. So you gather the more information possible in order to make the best decision possible, and not putting the company, your department, your role at any risk. As a founder, you just and simply must act quickly. So sometimes people say 70% of the information are enough to make the decision. I cannot say a percentage, but sometimes you just have to act quickly, especially in these days, in the AI era. It's fundamental to be very quick and eventually correct afterwards. But if you wait too much, you are simply done.
Do you have a framework or like a mindset when it comes to decision making? Is it, as you said, what are the 70%? Is this data that you have? Is it a gut feeling?
Yeah, I believe gut feeling is, the best proxy possible. Probably it's an informed gut feeling made of some experience, of course, in working for large organizations. So the experience is still there. I wouldn't apply any specific framework because probably it would slow down as well, the process as well. But yeah, sometimes with the team we try to have very focused meeting. You prepare all the information up front. So pre-reading is really the strategy that I like the most, instead of just spending time in reviewing documents, eventually presentation together. So we all pre-read, and we make the most of our time in discussing pros and cons. We sometimes use sort of metrics in order to identify the best quadrant. But yeah, at the end of the day, after those analyses, we just move forward and eventually adapt later.
Is there something that you regret while you build up the company where it is now? You just shared before we pressed record that it's over a year now that
Yeah.
you're in the company, growing the company. Is there something that, looking back in this 1 year, that you regret while building your business, or something that you would do completely different if you would start a new company again?
Actually, it's yes and no. I mean, probably if I would start a new company, a new venture today, I will do many things in different way. But I believe they're part of my personal journey, the company's journey and my personal journey. So I see all the mistakes that I did, and I can really name many of them. I can see as just part of my learning curve, a learning process. I said that I have a quite wide experience as a manager, but as a founder, I'm really new, in the role. So this year was really teaching me a lot of things. And when you learn something because you make a mistake and you touch the results immediately, it's concrete results. It's a good result, or if it's a mistake, it's a bad result. You learn immediately. So
Yeah.
I would say that I'm personally grown a lot compared to 1 year ago. So I really been learning so many things. So yeah, no regrets. Just conscious of all the mistakes that I made.
And where do you feel like, also looking back 1 year now as a founder, where do you still feel the most uncertainty as a founder? Is it like financially, mentally, in how you sleep or how you get sleep at night? Like, what is the, when you think about the uncertainties on your journey, are there still a lot, or have you figured it out for yourself to be calmer throughout the journey? Have you always been calm? Like, just give us a quick teaser how it looks like in your head when it comes to uncertainty and the struggles you have as a founder.
Yeah, today I reach a very weird status where I'm always very calm and relaxed, but also always very, worried and focused on what to do. Meaning that never satisfied, never feeling you have achieved, that security and certainty level, because in a startup it's almost impossible. So my brain tend to focus more on what we still have to do, what is needed in order to secure the company. Because of course, when it comes to a startup that has been built just 1 year ago, everything is uncertain. So but on the other hand, I sleep very well. So it take me like 30 seconds to get a sleep at night. So no pressure on that side. The main uncertainty, I believe, it's coming from outside, from the market. So especially when it comes to AI, it's really uncertain what will be the market in the future. So how will look, companies like in 3 years? Would it be software still there? The software as we know it. So yeah, I believe the main uncertainty is coming from how the market will evolve in the next future.
How do you tackle this, like this uncertainty? Because I hear this from a lot of founders, and it's always like difficult to handle this. Like, do you need to do like a very strategic bet now because you think in the future there will happen this and that with AI? Is it like something that you try to predict, or are you just going week by week, month by month, continuing with your startup and then seeing where it goes? Like, what is your approach handling that pressure from the market?
Yeah, I believe that for me, that's very personal. What is working best is trying to learn as much as I can and studying a lot. So, I mean, personally, studying means listening a lot of things. So every day, dedicating some time to the news. So if you are able to intercept the news, you are able eventually to connect the dots and make some, informed prediction that eventually can tell you where to go. Every day I struggle in finding the right balance between projecting what will be right for the future. So, making the company going that direction. But on the other hand, being able to sell what the market is expecting and asking today. So that's very difficult because those two things are shifting. So people still are buying mainly for the old economy. But if you look forward, especially, taking your news from United States, California, the trajectory is way far from where it is today. So it's always a balance in developing new things, proposing new type of services in a new way, but still trying to sell what people is searching for today.
Yeah, I can imagine this being a continuous struggle also over the next years, probably as well. Um, Coming back to the cost that you paid as a founder building your startup, was there like a specific moment where the cost felt too high for you, like where you doubted if it was worth it, and also what happened and what kept you going at the end in such moments, if you can think of such a moment in the
Yeah,
last year?
actually, not yet. And I believe when that day, if that day will come, probably it will mean that something is not going, as expected, because the cost is high, but the return, it's still much higher. It's return in new connection, it's return in new skills, it's return in experience, is a return, in new capabilities. So yeah, really today the balance is definitely in favor of good things. Sometimes there are, difficult moments. I read somewhere that in a startup's life there are at least two that you have to overcome. That looks like so ugly to just leave, but eventually keep pushing in order to overcome that. Them, but actually not yet. So
Nice.
far.
Maybe it stays like this. It doesn't have to have two moments. That's just the average. Probably you're just on a smooth path where you don't experience those moments also in the future. I hope so. All right, last question before we go into the fast session. What would you tell the younger Giulio before starting his first company? What would your advice be for him?
To do it for sure. So just confirming that it's a good experience, and probably not. I mean, not to be too much scared about the uncertainty, the future, the consequences, because I mean everything is eventually manageable. And also to select very carefully the people around you. That's probably the most important thing, because when you have tough moments, you need people that are able to support you, that are present, and it's happening actually. So again, no regrets. But yeah, that's probably the most important thing, because at the end of the day, alone, it's really impossible to succeed.
Nice. Thanks for your answers. So thanks for the conversation. Are you ready for the rapid fire questions? For some
Yeah,
fast questions.
let's try at least. I cannot
That's a,
guarantee, but yeah, I'll do my best.
okay, only rule as quick as possible and as short as possible the answers, if it's possible. No pressure.
Okay.
Okay, around 10 questions. The first one is the one I ask every founder. If you had to start SearchBridge again with only 500 euros, what's the first thing you'd spend it on?
500 euro.
Yes, with 500 euros.
The first thing I would spend on just buying probably the website domain.
Explain what you do to a 7-year-old in one sentence. Probably what you would tell your kids then.
Yeah, I'm pretty used to. I made ChatGPT recommend your brand.
Nice. Your daily stress level as a founder from 0 low to 10 very high.
7, 8.
The one app that you recommend every founder to have on their smartphone.
To me, it's Spotify, because I listen so many podcasts that it's fundamental to learn new things.
How many hours do you work per week, more or less, usually?
50.
Corporate Giulio versus founder Giulio. Who sleeps better?
The same.
A weird or unusual habit that you have as a founder while building your company?
Waking up pretty early and recording voice message for my team early in the morning.
Nice. Most important software tool that you're using besides apps, but more like on the software side?
Oh, that's pretty easy. AI tools, we are all on cloud, Anthropic cloud.
The last thing that you delegated, if you can remember.
Yeah, that was today. Creating a demo for a client.
If you could choose from one superpower for your business, would it be read the customer's mind or never sleep again? Never have to sleep again.
Read the customer's mind, definitely. Yeah, that would be very helpful.
And 3 things that make a good day for you.
Receiving some clients' feedback, good feedback for sure. Meeting in person with my team, and being able to fix one big problem, one big issue in the company.
And the last thing that made you really proud as a founder when you look back over the last weeks.
To become a founder, to try. So just exiting from the corporate trajectory and try my own.
And the last one, Giulio, is complete the sentence. Growing a business is like
growing a kid.
Nice. You can tell you have the experience.
Yeah.
Great. That was it. Thanks a lot for your answers, also in the fast session.